And today, to give our workshop, it will be Volker Kraft. Volker Kraft is a principal academic ambassador for JMP in Europe. He fosters and supports the use of JMP in teaching and research. He holds a PhD in electrical engineering and uses statistical methods extensively in his research in communication acoustics. In later positions, he has developed a passion for customer advocacy. Drawing on this experience and the success of JMP's academic program globally, Volker is charged with enabling academics to get the most from JMP. So with that, the screen is yours, Volker. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa, for your kind introduction. Did the screen sharing work?
Yes, it's working well.
It's working well. Okay. I don't see the green frame this time, but okay.
Oh.
So your feedback is more important. Cool. Yeah, and also thank you for the opportunity to present the JMP offering today. And I'm really happy to share with ISLP country coordinators and educators how JMP supports the poster competition 2024 to 25. Maybe some of you already used JMP in the previous competition, but there are some exciting news I would like to share today. Students get a much more powerful version of the JMP software, and access also becomes much easier. So what can you expect during the next 30 minutes? I want to introduce JMP, provide a live demonstration of our software, and also address some frequently asked questions from students. And I will share some resources, how students can get access and also find help. And after the presentation, I'm also happy to take questions and discuss anything you would like to know. So, who is JMP? For 35 years now, JMP is a leading software package for many industries like the chemical industry, consumer products, pharma, or semiconductors, and many more. And JMP is also used in teaching and learning by more than 1,300 universities and colleges worldwide, giving students access to powerful tools for learning from data, for real-world problem solving, and also for storytelling. What's quite important if you want to create a poster which really tells the story of the data. As an easy to use but very powerful end-to-end solution for statistical discoveries, JMP helps scientists, engineers, and other data analysts to create insights from data with no code required. Yeah, you can do some coding in JMP, but it's not required, not needed for creating useful statistics and also data visualizations for posters. So basically by drag and drop and point and click, students can perform capabilities like data import, cleaning, data visualization, exploratory analysis, and data mining, but also statistical modeling and machine learning tools in many ways. For building models and exploring the data and creating some insights and learning outcomes. And before I show you some use cases during a JMP demo, let me answer the main question today. So what does JMP exactly offer for those ISLP poster competition. So for this competition 2024 to 25, and also for the very first time, we share a full version of our JMP software for free with all students, with all country coordinators, and also with academic supporters of the poster competition. And actually, all users get the brand new release JMP 18 for download, which comes for both Mac and Windows computers. And I will show you where to find the software, request the software, and how to get the download after my demonstration. So, and while there are many good reasons for using JMP, for all of our customers, especially in industry, there's maybe a key reason, a main driver for students creating posters. And that's the data visualization capability built into JMP. So JMP is really an excellent tool to let your data tell the story. Yeah, so in JMP, with many data analyses, just by default, users get a visual summary or a visual output with some important results, and then they can also dive deeper and add more information or customize the outputs as needed. And in addition, JMP also has a dedicated graphing platform, which is maybe the #1 platform and built-in tool for the poster competition. And this platform is called the Graph Builder for building data visualizations and graphs. And this really creates a perfect graphs telling the right story of your data. And as I said, all graphs can be customized and exported also in a very high quality graphics format for publishing purposes like posters or slides. Okay, so what is it about? And maybe instead of just talking about the capabilities and what the JMP software can do, I would like to show you some examples in a live demo. And for that, I use some data sets here I have already open, and I'm running JMP on a Mac. And here we see the data set, the data table. We have all the variables organized in columns. And here we are looking at products, and the products are candy bars. So the Twizzler from Hershey and the Crunch from Nestle and so on. So we have 75 rows, which are different products, candy bars in this case, and in general, these are the observations, while the columns contain the variables. And starting with a new data set like this, here's the Graph Builder, the tool I already mentioned before. So this is an interactive graphing platform. So if you are interested in saturated fat, so this is a variable which is numeric. That's the blue icon. So this tells a student this is numeric data. These are numbers on a continuous scale. And for these numbers, for these numeric values, we get a dot plot. And then I'm interested in the relationship with the total fat. So I drag and drop the other variable and maybe drop it on this x-axis, and we get a scatter plot, a two-dimensional plot of all the data points. And JMP automatically adds a smoother. This is the second visual element. Yeah? And all the elements we have activated can be fine-tuned by settings on the left-hand side. Yeah, so for instance, the smoother can be fit more or less to our data, but we can also switch to a regression line instead, together with a confidence band for this fit. So this is a simple linear regression, but students just need to activate this visual element, which is called line of fit. Yeah, point to the element and you get a short introduction. Now we also have our candy bars already sorted into groups with similar products. And this was done by a previous cluster analysis. So I can also split this up by cluster. So I take the cluster variable, I could wrap this, and then I get separate visualizations, one per group or cluster. I can also overlay them. And if this is what I like, I can just say done. Yeah, and then this would be maybe a publication ready graph. If not, you can further edit the graph. Yeah, so everything can be edited and fine-tuned. Also this title here, the colors. So it's basically point and click, drag and drop, and a right click everywhere, which also provides more settings and options. Yeah? And the special thing in JMP is really that all visualizations are interactive to further explore what's going on, yeah, or also have some special markers or highlight some data. Yeah, and for instance, I can also pick the data by cluster and then compare the different clusters. And here we see that cluster 5 and 6 are really apart on this two-dimensional saturated fat versus total fat in that area. And if I want to change this or start again, I get the control panel back. I can say start over and create another graph. So for instance, I can also put these two variables on the y-axis. And I want to look at these two by cluster. So now I have 6 groups on the x-axis, but I want to have bar charts. Maybe box plots are the better way to describe the data. I would prefer them, but if bar charts are the visualization to use in this case, you can choose the bar charts. So we are now looking at the 2 means per cluster. Yeah, and again, they're fine-tuning settings, so I can also have a nested bar chart. And again, if we are done, I click done, and the graph is ready to use. The analysis is available, so more statistical analysis is available on the Analyze menu. Surprise, surprise. But maybe a better surprise is that also the statistical analyses come with visualizations. So it's not just the graph menu and the graph builder. So nearly everything is very visual and interactive in JMP. So if we want to look into distributions of our variables, so I can take these 3 again we just used before. So for instance, I can look at the 2 distributions for these fat measurements separately by cluster. So then I would do this. So I get the distributions for the first, the second, and all the other clusters. Yeah. Or what's maybe a more interesting one, a more interactive one is this here, put all three into this group, the columns to analyze, and now we have them side by side. And we can again select a cluster, like cluster 5, for instance, or cluster 6. And we see that 6 have very low fat measurements, 5 have very high fat measurements, and there are also some extremely high values which could be outliers, so to be investigated. Like this one, I can point to it, I can see which product this is, and so on. And all the details can be hidden or also removed just by using the red triangles to dive deeper or fine-tune the report. So that's a univariate analysis, the distribution analysis, which is really straightforward. And if we look at just this one here again, so the red triangle also allows to look into normality, for instance, by checking a normal quantile plot. And this immediately tells you that there's nothing to worry about if you want to see a normal distribution of the data. I can switch it off again. Maybe let us fit a continuous normal distribution to our data, so it's visually added to the histogram. And we have all the information down here, and then we have the result for this fitted distribution, the normal distribution, another red triangle. So is this a good fit? So there's a goodness of fit test. You don't need to know which statistical test or method to use. Just ask for, let's do a goodness of fit test, and then these are the p-values. And there's also some help saying, okay, if the p-values are not that small, like these here, there's no reason to reject the null hypothesis, which is the data are normally distributed. So that's how all the analysis platforms work. And we can look at other types of analyses. So this is multivariate analyses. So we are looking at all the continuous variables against each other. And deep red and blue indicate a high correlation. So we can look at high correlated variables. We also see multivariate outliers. So the Tiger Milk and Tiger Sport bars seem to be outliers, and should be maybe further investigated. And the clustering, the grouping we already used. There's the clustering platform. And then you put all the variables in. You can set less or more clusters, and also look at further analyses and other plots and details, about the clustering of these products. So here we see that the parallel plots per cluster are really different. So they can be used maybe like profiles to specify a specific group of candy bars, a parallel plot. All point and click, drag and drop, no coding required. There's another data set. So these are birth and death rates in different regions. And we are looking at 74 different countries in this case. We have 6 different regions here. Again, we can look at the distribution, and just click, and we see that if we select the countries with high birth rates, just by a multi-select. We can immediately tell, or the report tells us and would also tell others if added to a poster, that all the countries with extremely high birth rates are in Africa and Asia. So this is really working like a detective and uncovering relationships and patterns, just making statistical discoveries. So here we have countries. So this allows us to create visualizations like these. Also geographic information. So here we have the countries. It's still interactive, so I can point to a country, India, for instance, and then we have the birth grade as a color code by country. Not all countries are in our data set, but the green ones, the greenish ones, are colored by birth rate. That's also the graph builder, which can also show geographic information, also down to street level, by the way, using open street maps and many more options there if there are geographic data. If you build a model, so like these data, so if you are interested in male people who are running, and we want to explain their oxygen consumption based on age, weight, run time, the run pulse, and so on. So of these runners, so we can build a model, and with any model, neural network, or any model you build in JMP, at the end you get a profiler which tells the story. So here we see that the oxygen consumption does not really depend on weight and the rest pulse. So they are quite flat. But if we change the runtime, if the runtime is higher, we can expect a lower oxygen consumption, and vice versa. If runtime is lower, the oxygen consumption increases. And we also see that for the maximum pulse, so that's maybe interesting, we have the higher relationship, a positive slope. So you can explain what's happening by visualizing the model, and you can also ask what if and show different settings and compare them. Okay,
Sorry,
yes.
Walter. We just got feedback that if it's possible to put it's a bit bigger so that we can read the menu titles. Is that possible, or maybe you can read them out loud?
To make the text information bigger.
Yes, that's right.
I can do this.
Thank you.
I just have 3 other very special data sets I just wanted to mention. So I could make this bigger like this. So here we have reviews, customer reviews about products. And the product are potato chips. And the reviews are unstructured text data. So, oops, what can we do? For statistical analysis. We can even visualize the data by a text analysis and by showing a word cloud, for instance. I hope you can read this now. So unfortunately, on the word cloud, the terms get smaller if they are less used in our corpus in the data set. But if you're interested in a phrase or word like barbecue, we can just select it on the word cloud and everything is interactive. Still the same in JMP. I can right click and ask, okay, show me the context. If the customers are mentioning a barbecue, what are they talking about? Yeah, so it's a lot about barbecue flavor, yeah, and barbecue chips and so. Yeah, text data, another option to show word clouds and other analyses. The other one, very special, so this is time series data. So here we have sales over time, and the time is given by a date, yeah, a month here, and now we can look at this series over time. Again, this is Graph Builder, and also Graph Builder can be used for forecasting. So the last period, the period is a year, 12 months. So the last period is not in our data set, it's just forecasted by this time series forecast. And the last one I wanted to show, so you can also create even more fancy visualizations like 3D plots and surface plots like this one here, and use certain visualizations and light effects, yeah, to show what's happening. That's a surface plot, a special graph. Okay, so I would love to continue, especially with Graph Builder. There's so much to discover, but the good news is really it's quite interactive and intuitive. Yeah? And students can just play around and try to uncover and reveal the underlying messages in the data. So next, I would like to address maybe 3 typical questions you may expect from your students. The first one could be, how do we get the data into the software? So how does the import work? Yeah, so one option is starting on the green field, yeah, file menu, and then create a new empty JMP data table. Yeah, and that's the empty table. Yeah, and I can configure the first column, the first variable, provide a name, and then I have to set the types of this variable. Yeah, so how are the data shown, as numbers or a string, characters, and so on? And what about the scaling? Is it on a continuous scale or categorical, like ordinal or nominal, and some others? There's also more metadata and properties you can set on a variable, yeah, and then type in the data. But this is really manual and from scratch. I think that's not the typical way to get the data into JMP, because there are many ways to import also other data sets, especially Excel spreadsheets, or many other, maybe more than 20 data formats are supported. So if I choose to open this data set here, let me show you what this is. It's an Excel spreadsheet. So this is about sandwiches. So here are the names in one column. So the format is already very JMP friendly. So it's almost ready to import, but it's distributed over 2 worksheets in this Excel file. And in JMP, I can open this Excel file and then import the data. Yeah, and here we get a preview. I can also set where the names are, and then check the headers on the preview. Yeah, I can choose to concatenate the worksheets or not, and maybe create a worksheet name column. Yeah, and when I'm done, I just click go. Yeah, and all the Excel data are imported into JMP, and also some best guess types have been set by the import tool in JMP. So protein has been set to a continuous variable, and the brand, the sandwich brand, which is just ABC, anonymized, has been set to a nominal variable. Yeah, so this is so easy, but if your students ask, you can also send them to the quick start. And the quick start has just 9 short tips. Let me go. Typically, you start at 1. So this talks about how to open a JMP table, but also to import other data. And that's what I just showed you, how to import data from Excel, and then the structure of a JMP data table, and how to set up an analysis, how to create graphs, especially in Graph Builder, the analysis, and then how to save the results and where to learn more. Now, so this is basically all a student needs to know to use our software, the Quick Start. So that's about data import. Another question could be, how can we create and also customize the graphs and the outputs we need for our poster? So for this, maybe let me just open an output like this here. So if you want to get this for a poster, again, you can edit everything. You can change the axis, also double click and fine tune and customize the ticks and reference lines and everything on the axis. We can also label some special data points. So for instance, this one, if you want to point this out, let's add a label. And this is the peanut nut roll. So this data point there, I don't know if this is really special, maybe not, but it's easy to add labels. And there's also a right click. A right click is everywhere. So you can set colors and marker types and everything. And then there's also fine tuning, customization, and other settings. So here I can change this to blue. Okay. So this is really easy, and to customize this. There's another source of guidance and help, and that's our learning library. Maybe back to JMP, students can also add a new menu, a so-called student menu, to the JMP menu. So this is freely available on the JMP user community, and it also has some applets, calculators, demonstrators, and help again. So here also the quick guides are linked, and the quick guides, that's the learning library. And the learning library has single pages, individual pages. How can I do this or this in JMP? And here's one about how to get publication quality graphics with JMP. So this is about how to export vector graphics, especially also for poster use. If we look at others, so every guide is here. How can I do simple linear regression? Every guide is a single page saying what is it, how to start using a sample data set built into the software, some instructions explaining the results, how to interpret the statistics and the results, and then where to find more information. Everything on a single page, or also available as a short 2-minute video, 1 or 2 minutes, just to get started with that method. That's the learning library, which is also available on the student menu. And then the second, or no, the third question, the last question I want to mention is then, okay, if the graph is ready and configured, yeah, and ready to export, how would I do this? Yeah, so after setting it up, and this is my fit of these two variables. Yeah, so then we can just export the graph in different formats. Yeah, and here are also some high quality vector image formats, but also HTML or PowerPoint. Yeah, or which is also described in the learning library. I select what I need by choosing the selection tool, and then I select what I want to copy. I copy, so Control C, or after selection, I copy. And then if we want to add this to PowerPoint, it's a paste special. Yeah, so these steps are all documented in the learning library how to do this. Paste special on a Mac, you would choose PDF. On Windows, it's enhanced meta format or meta object. And then click OK. Yeah, and this graph is a vector graph you can resize without losing any graphical quality. Okay. So finally, just a few minutes at the end, how to get access and where to find help. Yeah, so we have this new page, jump.com/student. And maybe you remember that in the past we shared a light version of Jump, and students required an authorization code to download the software. Today, with the new version and this student subscription, so students get the full version of Jump and don't need any code anymore. So it's just the download, which can be found here, for instance, get access, and then it's a 6 steps procedure, including an authentication. Yeah, and here the student will be verified for academic status by providing an email address which should use or should show the university or school domain. And then it will be automatically checked, and then the student can proceed with the download. Yeah, and because this license is mainly used for teaching and learning in courses, every user will be asked for a course name, and we would ask all the ISLP users just to enter ISLP as the course name. And for help getting started, so this is the student page, the student subscription page again, jump.com/student. Scrolling down at the bottom of this page, there are some helpful resources, including the learning library I just showed you, which has the guides about also how to import the data, high quality graphics, and so on. So here are more tips and tricks students can find. And as I said, the student menu, which can be found in the Jump user community. That's community.jump.com. That's another nice way to organize this access for students and to make it really easy to find help. So the last resource I want to mention is a MOOC, an open online course, which is also free. This is really more about the concepts. It's not about user support and getting started. This is really in-depth about specific concepts, statistical concepts, like decision-making with data, hypothesis testing, or correlation regression, and also exploratory analysis. So students can learn about how to describe a data set, how to explore it, and how to create interesting and storytelling visualizations. This is called statistical thinking and problem solving, and that's an online course which is also listed down here, online statistics course on that student's page. And on YouTube, there's still the older video, the tutorial we created earlier. It's called Jump Tutorial for Posters, and you can still find it there, and it's probably still helpful for students to get started. Yeah, and closing the loop back to the ISLP webpage. So here you find all the information. And as you saw, I hope that you saw, JMP is a no-code solution which is really intuitive, very visual, and it makes data analysis and also visualizations really accessible for young students, but even for kids. Yeah, the resources are linked on the students download page, but also here on the ISLP poster competition site, there's a special site about JMP. Yeah, so here it explains where to get the JMP software, but there's also this page with some more information about JMP, some links to the resources I mentioned. So here's also the statistical thinking course linked, the YouTube tutorial, and the single link you need to share with your students so that they can directly and easily access the software and all the information they need. And in case of any questions from students, I would suggest to invite them to explore the online resources first, especially the learning library, the guides, and the user community. And if you have any questions, also sharing the software or teaching using the software, or supporting the students who just want to create their posters, let me know. So I'm also available at volker.kraft@jmp.com, and I will also add my email address to the chat in a second, and I'm always happy to help you and discuss all the questions you have. And at this point, I'm at the end of my demonstration today, and I'm really happy to take your questions. I have to say I could not monitor the chat in parallel because of too many windows. But Elisa, I'm interested to hear if there are any questions or any feedback.
Thank you so much, Volker. I'm so impressed of how much can be done with the JMP software, and especially with something so approachable as candy bars and chips and sandwiches. So this was really great. In the chat, we have had many people asking if they can access the presentation afterwards. And just to everybody, I want to mention that this has been recorded, and I will share this workshop both through an email, but then also it will be available in the ISLP poster competition site, because as you know, we encourage students they can try out the JMP software, and also it's possible to use these graphs and plots in their poster. as Volker said, it's easy to then copy the information over. We have a question, let me see, from CD. So here we are. Yes, Sidi Zakari has said, thanks for this wonderful presentation, Volker Kraft. How can students without institutional email addresses can download the JMP software? Unfortunately, secondary, high schools, and even university students are in such situation in many countries. So
it's needed for the automatic authentication to provide the university or school email address, which is also used by the student to log into the university or school system. So the authentication also does exactly that. It takes the email address and checks the school or university system if the student is enrolled with that organization. If there is no way to provide such an email address, please get in touch. I hope that these are not that many cases, and we have a few countries, even if it's, don't know, 10, 20 cases. Let me think about it, about an alternative way to make this available for the ISLP students. I shared my email address on the chat, volker.kraft@jmp.com, and please refer to the ISLP poster competition and an alternative access path to our software. This is really mass market, yeah. So it's a free version for all students out there, and we see thousands of downloads every month, yeah. So we cannot support any individual supportive treatment here, but for the ISLP poster competition, and also especially working with the country coordinators who also manage this and tell their students how to do this, I think we are in a good shape to maybe offer an alternative way and a workaround. I'm optimistic here. Please get in touch.
that's great. Yes, there's also a lot of appreciation in the chat for a wonderful presentation. And then I see Margaret McDougall has her hand up. So
right.
Please go ahead, Margaret.
Hi, thanks, Elisa. Volker, I really enjoyed your presentation. There's just so much there in terms of opportunities implicitly for teaching enhancement. So thank you so much for what you've done. I greatly appreciate it. Can't overstate that. But here comes the questions. So I come from the perspective of being a university academic who wants to work with schools for the poster competition.
Mm-hmm.
And so while some of my colleagues online today are both the people who deliver the competition and the persons who are teaching their students, I am like an intermediary. I want to advertise the competition, but I don't teach the students. I don't supervise the students, and that's quite challenging in terms of getting the teachers and the students inspired. Statistics is not always well taught in the UK. I should stress that.
Mm-hmm.
And so my questions to you are twofold. First of all, do you have any recommendations on how I can present this software to uninitiated teachers and say, when I advertise the competition in such a way that they're well equipped like we are just now? So for example, could I share this presentation? Is there already a package in place to try and entice them to use the software? I probably think that's enough for now. Volker, I'll let you respond to my question.
Yeah, thank you, Margaret, also for the kind feedback. And A good question. A good question. I think it's a general question, maybe also from others who talk to organizations or statistical societies and so on, and not directly teach. And many academics want to promote the software because they can also see the benefit and the ease of use, but it has to take another level to get it down to the students and the end users. So a good question, good point. What I could think about, I think the ISLP website is freely accessible and the recording will be posted there. So that's maybe a first suggestion to watch this recording, to get an introduction overview, and also see the links. Yeah, and there's a trial version. So if there are people who don't qualify for this student license, even people from industry or any other organization, we also have a 30 days JMP trial. This is the same software, exactly the same software, but just a 30 days license, a trial license. And unfortunately, it cannot be renewed. So it's at least very difficult. So it's just 30 days, and that's maybe too short. So that's maybe not a real solution in this case. If it's just about convincing and pointing others to JMP and what could be done with JMP, I would explore the website and the JMP capabilities and what I showed here. And you can click on any frame here, and you can see use cases and graphing and what can be done. Yeah, and again, click and you can get more information and how to do this. So there's a lot of information online. Maybe that's a problem, that it's too much and not easy to find what's really convincing at this stage. But I think there's great content outline and available, and I still hope that it's also searchable by others. Elisa, I'm not sure if you have any additional comment.
I think this is a good place to start, and yeah, I would like to emphasize that we are getting the recording onto the ISLP site, and I don't see any issue with also sharing that outside of the community, because it is freely available online after this meeting. So perhaps that is a place to start. Also, I would love to stay here longer with Volker, and we could talk about JMP. I'm sure we could spend hours talking about this fascinating software. I need to kind of rush ahead because of the time commitments, but thank you so much, Volker. There's a lot of appreciation in the chat and also from our side. We're lucky to have JMP in the ISLP network and as supporters of the project and of the poster competition. Volker, is there anything that you want to say before we move on to?
Yeah, thank you, Elisa. Maybe just one final note. I think there will be also some articles on the next ISLP newsletters. So there will be also more information coming there. And I will also talk to my colleagues and the authors of that content. Maybe we can also provide some content and some pointers for the question from Margaret, which I think really represents the situation of many people and many country coordinators quite well. So we will think about it. I will take it as homework promised.
Could I offer a very quick response to that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
I think the key question that you may be faced with from a marketing point of view, even although you're offering it for free, and it may be relevant to my colleagues here, I hope so, is why use this instead of Excel? And I know the question, it could be answered in a comprehensive way, but just getting right to the basics. This is a thing that probably I would be confronted with, because I know that our mathematics teachers in the UK are not necessarily well trained in statistics, and they feel quite impoverished in terms of empowering their students to use something beyond Excel. So I think, if one were addressing my original question, it's the Excel versus this wonderful package challenge that we're faced with. So that's just a quick comment, Volker.
Yeah. Thank you for making that point, and I agree. And don't be fooled. JMP is not a spreadsheet. A JMP table is not a spreadsheet. There's a huge difference between JMP and Excel. And we also have dedicated tutorials and also recordings just on that topic and that difference. And I think it's also easy to find if you Google this, JMP and Excel. There are good points to use a real data analysis package rather than a spreadsheet. We don't have the time to discuss it now, but yeah, it's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks again for the presentation, and just also for the recording. I'd like to mention that you can reach Volker at volker.kraft@jmp.com. So we can also continue the conversation. If you have further more questions, Volker has kindly provided his email. Okay, thank you.